friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a little bit of a different video for you guys. Today I wanted to go back into sort of the psychological type of videos that I have made before on my channel, so I hope you find this useful. And today I wanted to talk about spotting early signs of a toxic relationship, of an unhealthy relationship, how to spot red flags, how to sort of maybe have a look and spot whether you are being manipulated in your relationship. This could be also your friendship or any sort of close relationship that you have. Before we get into this, I would like to put a huge disclaimer here that I am not a professional, I am not a doctor. I am just a student who wanted to share her knowledge that she has accumulated over the past 4 or 5 years on the subject with her audience, and that is all. Saying that, I do have a bachelor's degree of science in psychology, and I am currently studying for my master's degree in psychiatry as well. So I do know little bits and bobs. As well as this, I do unfortunately have the life experience of being in a toxic relationship where I have found myself being manipulated, and oftentimes you don't realise this until you actually get out of the relationship and are able to look back on these behaviours. So with all of that being said, as always, my sources are down below in the description, as well as some links and contacts that you might find useful if you find yourself in these types of relationship and maybe you feel like you need a little bit of help, you need to speak to someone, you need to speak to a professional. All of that is down below. Okay, so in today's video I'm going to be discussing a few psychological techniques that I use to manipulate people, as well as frequent behavioral patterns which can indicate that you are being manipulated or can indicate that your relationship maybe is not as healthy as it should be or maybe has room to improve. So before we start, we need to actually establish a definition of what a toxic relationship is. So a toxic relationship is a relationship which by definition involves frequent toxic and damaging physical and emotional behaviors from one person or partner. Usually this kind of relationship involves one person manipulating the other, and the aim is basically to get that person to do what the other person wants them to do. It can be centered around financial gain, emotional dependency, or ensuring that that partner will never leave them or cheat on them or find a better person to be with. Now, some of the common signs that you might be in an unhealthy relationship or that your relationship is not as healthy as it maybe should be involve the fact that, for example, you argue a lot. The arguments are becoming more and more frequent over everything. There is some bitter and spiteful comments towards one another, or maybe it's very one-sided and the bitter and spiteful comments are just from one partner to the other. Another sign that your relationship maybe is not as healthy as it should be is lies. And this is both ways. The partner lies to you, and also you feel like you cannot tell the other person anything and you feel the need to constantly lie, because anything at this point can cause an argument. It can lead to accusations, it can lead to arguments, it can just lead to fights. So it's better and easier on your end to just lie. Constant jealousy and competition. Your partner may not see you as an equal and therefore is not happy for your achievements. I have experienced this before. So instead they see you as competition. They might try to persuade you, for example, to not go to that really good college that you want to go to, not go to the university you have always dreamed of, not actually try to get that promotion, because they would like you to just stay on the same basic level, and that just stems from themselves actually feeling insecure about their own achievements and seeing use competition. Another sign that you might be in an unhealthy relationship is persistent disrespect, and this especially goes for people who are being disrespected in front of mutual friends, in front of others, playing on your insecurities, things that they know you feel insecure about and are very sensitive about, and then writing them off as a joke. Another sign is unequal effort. So relationships should usually involve a 50-50 split, or at least an equal amount of effort. As long as both of you are doing your best, your relationship will flourish. This can include like housework or cooking, or just even willingness to sit down and have a mature conversation about the things that you disagree on. Willingness to compromise, willingness to negotiate, all of those things. But once you find yourself as the only one who's really trying and putting in the effort, the only one who's compromising, the only one who's giving up things, and the only one who's inviting and opening up a conversation and reaching to your partner, it might mean that you are in an unhealthy relationship. Now, commonly, where there is a manipulator, there are persistent patterns of behaviour. Some of these patterns involve fear, obligation, and guilt. So when you are being manipulated, essentially you are being psychologically coerced into doing something maybe you are uncomfortable or you don't want to do. And a good way to think about the two different types of manipulators is the bully and the victim. So similarly to a school playground, a bully manipulates you through fear. Fear of consequences, the imbalance of power, aggression and intimidation until you do what they want you to do. The victim, on the other hand, is a little bit more tricky because what they do is that they manipulate you using emotional pity. They act hurt and play on insecurities, whether they are your insecurities or their insecurities. This can go something like, I have been cheated on in my previous relationship, that's why I don't want you hanging out or having any friends who are men. I just don't trust you. I don't trust them. It's not my fault, it's just what happens. I could not take it again. So presenting these insecurities as a way and a reason of manipulating you into isolation, into cutting off your friends and loved ones, that's actually really unhealthy. In reality, if someone has been hurt in the past to that extent, they need to either take time for themselves so they can heal and learn how to trust, or need to take a step back and actually seek professional help in order to work through these underlying problems so they can learn how to trust instead of just blaming the other person for their insecurities. Following on from these behaviors, you also might feel guilty and obligated to do something. You might feel fearful and like you have to do it, otherwise there will be consequences. You might feel like, well, as a daughter or as a wife or as a girlfriend or as a husband, this is my duty to do this even though I don't want to and it makes me feel uncomfortable. Your partner can actually try to turn those feelings against you and say stuff like, you know, if you were a better partner, if you were a better husband, wife, I wouldn't have to insert a really horrible and damaging behavior. For example, if you were a better partner, I wouldn't have to cheat on you. If you were a better girlfriend, I wouldn't cheat on you. Making your worth so low and your self-esteem even lower, like you don't deserve a good loving partner, means that you are more likely to stay with that person because they have now portrayed themselves as the only person in the whole entire world that will love you despite of all of these flaws that you have, that they have put on you. It makes you feel like you can't leave because no one else will ever be able to give you that. No one else will ever be able to truly love you for who you are, clearly because you are such a burden on this one person and he's actually or she's actually the hero for putting up with you despite of all these flaws, because that's sort of the skewed idea that you have of yourself because of the manipulation that they have put upon you. Some of the most common psychological manipulation techniques involve gaslighting, foot in the door and door in the face, and as well as this, the hot and cold technique. So the hot and cold technique is actually something that I have taught my students as well as I have been taught at university. It's basically a behavioural shift in which your partner becomes affectionate as long as you follow the rules, as long as you make them happy, you do everything they want you to do, and then once you question their behaviour, you question the judgment, or you do something that they don't agree with, whether that's going out and seeing your friends or maybe wearing something that's questionable and they don't approve of, that's when they opt for the cold. So they won't cause an argument, there won't be a big fight, they will just simply go cold. There will be silent treatment, there will be no affection, there will be no speaking to you until you think of what you've done and apologize, and that is a horrendously good way to deter you from ever questioning them ever again, because the days or the weeks that you have just gone at this point with no affection, with no communication, with no love that they have cut off so fast, as well as the overwhelming guilt because they have now made you feel like this whole situation is your fault and it could have been avoided if you would have just, behaved yourself, that will surely deter you from ever questioning them ever again. So a sudden withdrawal of communication, love, affection, with no sort of willingness to communicate about it is also a huge red flag and a hint that you might be in an unhealthy or toxic relationship. So I think the term gaslighting has been used quite often in our just everyday life, and I think it has made its way to sort of our popular culture nowadays, and I think everyone's sort of aware of what it is. But it's basically when your manipulator gets you to question yourself. They will twist what you have said to make it about them. They will, you know, hijack the conversation. They will make you feel like you have done something wrong when you're not quite sure that you have. They can say things like, you know exactly what you're doing, or you said this and now you're doing that. Why did you say that if you didn't want to do it? And this is all to leave you questioning, did I say this? Did I actually do that? Did I do it on purpose? Do I know what I'm doing? It's this overwhelming feeling of guilt and this sense of, well, I must have done something wrong, otherwise this whole thing wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be having this huge argument. It must be my fault. So the next two techniques don't exclusively apply to relationships. They can apply to any relationship in your life, whether that's romantic or friendship or business or work or anything like that. And that is the foot in the door and door in the face. Now, the foot in the door refers to a technique which was first studied by Fraser in, I think, the 60s, and it's basically a way of manipulating in which one person starts with a really small favour, a really small sort of request to get you to say yes, and then gradually work their way up to a bigger request. And in a relationship, that can be something like, hey, can you stay at home with the puppy on Saturday for an hour while I'm out with the boys? And you say yes. But then this can quickly move on to a bigger request, such as, hey, can you give up your plans every Saturday to look after the puppy while I'm out drinking? It's just that way to make you say yes to a little thing and then gradually build it up until you feel trapped and you can't say no anymore. Now, the door in the face is literally the opposite. So it involves someone making like a massive big request, knowing that you're going to reject it, and then make it a smaller request, which is the request that they actually wanted to ask you. In that way, it sounds like both you and the partner are compromising, but actually you are being tricked into compromising while they are getting exactly what they wanted. So in a relationship, this could be something like, hey, can you stay home with the puppy every single Saturday all day while I'm going out drinking? And they know you're going to say no. So you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. So they say, oh, okay, fine. Well, how about you just stay this Saturday for a couple of hours? And you say, right, okay, fine, that sounds fair, because you're compromising, I'm compromising. But actually, in reality, what you don't know is that that was the plan all along. They just wanted you to stay in on that Saturday, not every single Saturday. Now, an additional characteristic to sort of look out for has recently made it to the sort of mainstream meme culture, and that's sort of the stereotype and the behaviors of the nice guys and the nice girls. You know exactly what I'm talking about, you know, the Reddit posts, and the memes, and so all that sort of stuff, you know. And whilst they are really funny and potentially, you know, on the whole harmless, they do draw attention to like a bigger problem, which is basically attachment of strings to every single favor and every single behavior in a relationship. So if your partner expects something in return every single time they help you out, that is a red flag. That is manipulation. Your partner is not entitled to your body, your money, or any other resources that you can potentially provide them just because they help you out or offer their help. These are the people who are willing to help and who maybe even offer to help, but that comes with expectations of you doing something in return. And now if you don't fulfill those expectations, they will make you look like you are the ungrateful one for not thanking them properly for their help. That is all I have for you today, guys. I hope that you found this interesting. I hope that you maybe found this helpful. Do let me know down below what you think. As I said, any sort of contacts and links are down below, so check out the description if you need anything else. And I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day. Ways to support the channel are also down below. If you are interested in anything else of this sort of video, do leave it down below as well. And I hope I see you in my next one. Bye!